Hey, what's going on, guys? This is BunnyMuffins. We have the tier list for patch 11.20 for teamfight tactics. Just a brief update, guys. I did playtest set 6 over this week, and I played like 3 games of that, and I got to see pretty much all they're doing for all that good stuff, but we will be going over those as soon as they allow me to post those videos, which should be just in a couple of days. And then PBE for that is out on like Wednesday or something like that. So do keep in mind for announcements there. So if you are not already, go ahead and sub below and follow me on all my socials and my website, because that's where all the information is going to be held. So yeah, if you haven't done that already, let's get back to the tier list. We have in the S tier, and by the way, guys, this is going to be a quicker video because not too much has changed in set 5.5. It's been like pretty stable for a while now. They did add the Radiant thing, so we're just adjusting what we had from last week. So S tier, Aphelios, still going to be the best. The reason why is because Akshan is the best legendary unit that's like hittable right now, and he uses the same exact items as your Aphelios. So the two best late game comps is probably going to be any Akshan build, which is either Aphelios or Sentinels. After that, Draven is a very solid choice. He's just like the other 4 costs. You're going for Aphelios, right? You're building attack damage and attack speed items. Well, who's your guy for that if you don't hit Aphelios? It's going to be Draven, so you're just going to be playing him there. And we'll go into like briefly how to play all these in just a moment. A tier, Abominations, they dropped down a little bit in popularity. Sentinel, still solid, as I said before. Cavalier, Cannoneer is definitely the reroll of choice. And then Skirmishers, decent with Jax. Invokers and Dawnbringer Karma, these two are kind of the same comp. B tier, the one surprise here is Nightbringer Yasuo went down a lot. Honestly, guys, I'm not really too sure why he is weaker and why he is less played, but I will say he's not as completely useless as the rest of the B tier, which we'll go over in just a second. So most of the B tiers here, like all these rerolls that you see that I have highlighted in blue, a lot of them are not too playable as you get higher up. I'm not saying it's impossible, but like you'd rather be going something else unless you get the perfect start for them. But I've watched people play who are like much higher elo, and they are getting like beautiful starts for some of these reroll comps, and they still go like 6. So like they're pretty weak, but if you get them and you're not like super high in Challenger or something like that, like you could go ahead and play them, no worries. But yeah, Nightbringer Yasuo and Cavalier Cannoneer, these are the 2 reroll comps I would focus on right now. So pretty much play everything I've highlighted here, and the rest of them, like only play them if you're really gunning for them and you got like amazing starts for them. But onto the tier list, Aphelios, nothing much has changed. The spread out build, notice how we have no like super high in 1 synergy, has typically worked out the best. You just need 2 Ranger. 4 Ranger, a little bit unnecessary. Like you could go for it if you want, if you get a Ranger spatula, but other than that, I tend to ignore it. The Invoker tech with Teemo and Ivern is great because it allows Aphelios to cast that much faster. And of course, Akshan 2-star gonna be your late game bomb, Rage Blade, attack damage, Bloodthirster, all gonna be great on them. And then your tank's just a Revenant, and then Lulu, you're just throwing her in there because she fits the synergies and gives attack speed to your Aphelios. So next build, we have Legionnaire Draven. I listed out the Forgotten build here too. No one's really going the Forgotten build as much as the Legionnaire build because the Legionnaire build is just that much better. So try to go for the bottom one here. I list both out anyways because sometimes, you know, you have to go for the Forgotten build because you got all the Forgotten units, but the Legionnaire build's typically better. You could also do something like a Skirmisher hybrid, like Legionnaire and Skirmisher, and add in Jax as a secondary carry if you get too many items, which does happen a lot because let's say you go for some Radiant items for Draven, you go for some early game items on Draven in like stage 2, all of a sudden it's like stage 5 and you keep getting more offensive items. What do? You play like duo carry. So you equip Draven and Jax as your 2 carries and go from there and add in 3 Skirmisher, which is pretty easy with Draven because you could play Viego and Aurelia. Viego's a Forgotten, Aurelia's a Skirmisher, plus Jax is going to be, well, 3 Skirmisher. You could also add an Ironclad, like up here we have Ironclad. Oh, in the Forgotten build we already put in the Jax, but you could do that down here as well. All right, next builds are the A tiers. A-Bomb took a step down. They're still pretty good, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like the A tiers are just slightly better. If you guys haven't noticed yet, like a lot of the starting items that people go for, they're going to be like the swords and the bows, not so much the rod and the tears, which is what this comp typically goes for. Not to say it's like bad, it's still in the A tier. So if you get like AP items, go for either Vel'Koz or Karma, and you're not going to feel too bad about it. Next up, we have Sentinels. Sentinels, it's the same thing as the Akshan build, just like You're just playing a comp to get to Akshan, and once you get Akshan 2-star, add in a Ranger when you can, and go from there. He's going to be doing a lot of work. Next build we have is Cavalier Cannoneer. So this one's a reroll build. So all the other comps we went over before, you just do standard playing. You like level up at 7 on 4-1, you level up to level 6 on 3-2. Early game's a little variable depending on if you're win or lose streaking, and then like level 8 at either 4-5 or 5-1 typically. And yeah, just roll for 4-cost carries. But Cavalier Cannoneer is a little different. You're doing a reroll, so just go to level 6, get the 3-star of Hecarim, Sejuani, those types of champions, like all the 2-cost units, and then at level 7, get 3-star Misfortune. Shojin's the best item, and then AP and like a hybrid of damage and healing will do just fine. Next up, Skirmisher Knights, Jax in the front line. You could also go RFC on him or Runons. And yeah, it's just like you got a lot of attack damage items. Don't hit Aphelios, don't hit Draven, don't hit Lucian. You hit the Jax, perfect. Like go ahead and play him, he is perfectly fine. I've really only seen 3 Skirmisher and Knights, but I haven't quite seen 6 Skirmishers quite yet. So do keep that in mind. Like I wouldn't go for 6 Skirmishers if I were you. You could do it in the mid game. In the mid game, it's actually like one of the strongest comps. Like during stage 3 and stage 4, 6 Skirmisher really dominates a lot of teams. But once you get to the late game, Knights tend to do a little better from what I've been seeing. All right, next build we have is Invokers. This is like the same as the Karma build, so you could go for like the 4 Invoker with 4 Dawnbringer down here. This is kind of like your mid game with Karma carry, and then once you get into the late game, Heimerdinger or Teemo carry gonna be great. You can still keep Karma as well, but the items are gonna be better on Teemo. But let's say you get like 50 billion items, and your Teemo's already full item, Heimer's full item, like put the items on Karma as well, like it's gonna be great. The only item that I think is like super good but not as obvious is like the Warmogs on Garen. It's like Garen with other tank items that are not Warmogs, not as good. So let's say you are in a position where you're like, oh, I got 2 items for my Garen. Let's get like an extra offensive item for one of my carries because Garen already has 2 items. If they are not named Warmogs, I'd probably take the Warmogs instead of that extra damage item because it is that important on him. Next build we have are the B tiers, Nightbringer Yasuo, reroll on 7. You could do the attack speed build or the spellcaster build. Spellcaster build is like Radiant Blue buff with a Archangel staff. Pretty good build. They're both really solid. The blue buff one is a lot better, but you don't always get Radiant Blue buff. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, just reroll at 7. 4 to 6 Nightbringer will do. I actually kind of like 6 Nightbringers a little more sometimes, but like, again, since we are getting a ton of items right now, I often want to itemize my Jax as a secondary carry, which is why I am favoring the 3 Skirmisher and 4 Nightbringer build instead of the 6 Nightbringer, because now if I get a ton of items, put them on Jax, I have Ironclad against all these attack damage dealers at the S tier, which is why this version probably slightly better right now. But if no one's playing attack damage, you don't need Ironclad. Go for the 6 Nightbringer build and put the extra items on Aphelios. Next build we have is CHUG. This is a reroll at level 5. Not too recommended, but if you get great starts for it, go for it. Kha'Zix 3, Gragas 3. Like this comp did get nerfed a little bit in the last patch. Same with all the other rerolls, which is why they are kind of in the dumpster right now. They're not quite in the dumpster, but B tier is not that great. They're in like low B tier. Like all the comps we're going over, starting from here, it's like B minus, you know? So assassins, like you need too much to make them work. But if you get 3-star Nocturne really easily, it's really good in the late game, obviously, because, I mean, 3-star Nocturne, 6 Assassin, 1 taps, like a lot of team comps. Next build we have is Kayle Knights. This comp is really inconsistent because you don't always hit Kayle, so always have a backup plan whenever you do this. Typically, if you build like Rageblade, Deathblade in anticipation of going for Aphelios, then randomly on stage 4-1, you roll down, you hit a magic Kayle, you could just stop rolling and go for Kayle instead of the Aphelios. That's typically the only times I go for that comp. Reroll Legionnaire. I actually played this a bunch like last week or something like that. But like, it's free top 4 if you get a good start for this. But you're not going to do much better than that because the late game is really bad for this comp. But like your early and mid game, super, super good. So just keep that in mind when you play this. Like, you're probably not going to win. But like, you'll still get LP, you know? But it's just like, why would you subject yourself to that? Because you need to pray to hit on the reroll and get a good start for it. And then after all that, you don't get like a big reward at the end. That's why I prefer going something else. Reroll redeemed, man. 2-cost rerolls are just outshined by the 3-cost rerolls right now, because you get a lot more gold because of the Radiant bonus, and everyone's going for Draconics right now. So you really need a strong early game or a strong late game, and this has neither. This has a weak early game and like a strong mid to late game, but not super late game. So it's in a weird spot right now, so that's why it's kind of low. Next build we have is the Hellion reroll. This could be Tristana or Kled. Don't play these. They're kind of like, I mean, they got nerfs, so it's like it's hard to play them. Tristana did get a small buff, but I don't think she's as good as Kled, you know, because she was kind of not played before her buff. So it's like just because you buff her doesn't mean she is actually like that super great, because she just was never played before. Next up we have Vayne reroll. They nerfed this comp too, I believe. Vayne did not deserve any nerfs in my opinion, but again, with any 1-cost or 2-cost reroll, you're gonna get outscaled by the people playing 5 Draconic into like Heimerdinger or whatever. So not too much worth it to play these anymore. But yeah, that is going to be, I guess, C tiers, Riven and Vel'Koz. They're just like the other comps. Like Riven, you need to high roll it really hard, and then Vel'Koz, like just play the Abomination version. But yeah, just to sum up, guys, like everyone's being really greedy because there's more gold now because of the Radiant bonus. Everyone is playing like 5 Draconics because it's really fun. And because of that, you need a very strong late game and like not too bad of an early game. Because if you're good in the early game, you could punish some of those players and knock them out really quickly. But you might get like 3rd place because 2 people hit and then you're kind of left behind in the late game. So as with like every patch of TFT, it's all about balancing like when you're strong, and like pretty much you have to change your decision making every single game because you're not always playing like one set path every time you play TFT. But yeah, guys, like set 6, stay tuned for that because like it's coming very soon. And yeah, we'll be releasing a bunch of stuff there and have the information on my website when they allow me to. I don't think I'm allowed to say like when that's happening, but it's like, it's really soon because PBE's on next Wednesday, I believe, and then the set comes out 2 weeks after that Wednesday. So definitely look out for that. And again, like all links in the description down below. And if you guys want to do a last minute climb, go ahead and check out like the 2 or 3 hour compilation videos that I made earlier before, because maybe they'll help you out depending on what level you are at. But yeah, I'll see you guys for set 6. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.